Good evening. I'd like to call this evening's meeting, our July meeting of the Lee County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, if we'll stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll have the pledge, please. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, approval of the consent agenda.
Can I add one thing to the regular agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Sorry.
sure. I skipped over one. I apologize.
That's okay. If under a closed session, if we can also add a session per NC General Statute 143-3, 18.11A3, consult with the attorney regarding the matter of Lee County versus Amerisource Virgin Drug Corporation et al. It's the NRA National Prescription Opioid Litigation.
Okay. All right. Anything else to the agenda?
Madam Chair, there are a couple of items I'd like to move to the consent agenda.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to the individuals responsible for these items to speak, but we've discussed the Wi-Fi contract already, and the emergency management grant I'm happy to receive, and you can get some more. I'd appreciate that, as well as the report, but I would certainly don't have any objections to the individuals coming forward if they like to.
Well, I'd like to, I just want to have some clarification on A first,
On which one?
on the first one.
On the Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, all right, that's fine.
thank you.
Sorry, Kyle. Shane, you're good? Okay, so move item B and C.
Yes.
Let me see, let me look at my notes real quickly. Because I did. Oh, okay, I had a housekeeping question that can wait till later. Okay, all right, so move item B and C to consent, and that would be, I guess, N and O. Okay. Anything else for the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, public hearing on the request from the Lee County Regional Airport, Sanford Lee County Regional Airport Authority for a loan from the revolving fund. Hey, Ms. Minter.
Good evening. We need to hold a public hearing prior to the final approval of the promissory note with the Lee County Regional Airport Authority, Sanford Lee County Regional Airport Authority, excuse me. If you'll remember, we came to you back in April with modifications to the revolving loan fund policy, and then on May 6th at your regular meeting, you voted to approve the amount of $400,000 to Sanford Lee County Regional Airport Authority. We have since drafted the promissory note that's in your package, and we do need to ask that you hold a public hearing. After the public hearing, due to the timing of the funds, we will be asking you to waive your policy to wait until the next meeting to vote on it, but if you'll please consider holding a public hearing.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Okay. Can we go ahead and take that vote to waive the policy now? Or do we need to have the hearing first?
I guess go ahead and have the hearing first.
Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, so at this time, we'll open the floor for the public hearing for the revolving loan fund. Is there anyone speak in favor? Against? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Thank you very much. Okay, now, Commissioner Reeves moved to waive the policy. Okay, is there any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of waiving the policy and wait until the next meeting, but to actually take the vote on the fund loan today, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Now that we ask that you consider approving the promissory note loan agreement and authorizing the chair to sign any documents necessary to effectuate the loan.
Okay,
So moved.
all right. Any more discussion? Just really quickly, I'm looking at Dr. Crumpton. Are they on track?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, good. All right,
End of August, we're hopeful.
good. Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Give me 400,000, I'll be on track. Better be on track.
Just curious.
All right.
Okay, are there any public comments? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Keely Wood. Good evening.
Hi.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keely Wood, Sanford, North Carolina. On June 21st, North Carolina DEQ sent a letter to Chara concerning the results from the Brookhaven coal ash dump. This site was rushed to be permitted. It was approved in less than 7 months, where a regular landfill permit takes about 1 to 2 years. I'm here to remind you that Chara still has a permit for Colon Road in Lee County. Monitoring wells shows that this 4-year-old, supposedly new industrial liner is not working in Brookhaven. Please join us in challenging Chara from dumping coal ash in Lee County. My question is, if an industry is polluting in other counties, can there be something be done with the permit that's existing in our county? Can it be challenged? The other thing I would like to mention is North Carolina DEQ has done a health study on their website. It's under health screening, and it publishes demographics, population, and it also has an environmental justice tool that shows all the polluted spills in each county. One of the major disclosures on this NCDEQ for Lee County, which kind of amazed me, is that our asthma rates are double that of the state average. This fact alone should be a warning sign and an argument of why we really don't need fracking in our county, and that we should keep the moratorium until a more in-depth health study is done that this Gas and Oil Commission still has not done. Please also visit, I think I emailed you all the link for the Physicians for Social Responsibility. They have over 1,500 health studies specifically about fracking, and that can also be used in our state findings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay,
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
On that issue, I'd be interested, and I am interested and curious to know exactly what Chara has been permitted for.
okay. I know that something the manager and I have talked about is we sent Duke a letter a few months ago,
Right.
and didn't get a,
You didn't get a response.
well, we did get a response, but it was essentially to talk to Mike Hughes rather than talk to the person we requested to meet with. And I'm not opposed to that, but we just sort of got passed off, and I think the manager and I talked about reaching out to Chara and trying to meet with them.
And DEQ, I mean, my position is that I think regardless of whether the coal ash comes or not, we still have a site that's permitted
Absolutely.
to do business, and I don't know exactly how many different things it would be
Right.
qualified to accept.
Right.
And I feel like we ought to know that.
And we need to make the rounds again
All right,
now that Duke's released that property. Agreed.
all right, thank you.
Any other advice on that or opinion. But that's something we're going to be working on now that we've got the budget behind us. Okay. Next on the agenda, Ms. Mackenzie Roach. Hi. Welcome.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Commissioners and Chairwoman. My name is Mackenzie Roach. I'm a Lee County 4-H'er and a Lee County Young Commissioner. I was recently given the opportunity to represent Lee County 4-H at this year's NCACC Youth Voice event. Part of participating in this program includes speaking to your Board of Commissioners about an experience in 4-H or an issue that you believe is important to your community. And considering I was here just last month telling you all how much I love my club, I hope to use my time today to talk about an issue that while I'm newly familiar with, I'm extremely passionate about: rural broadband access. There are two types of broadband, fixed and mobile. Mobile is generally what we would consider cell phone data, 4G, LTE, and fixed broadband is internet or Wi-Fi, and it's usually physically set up. Fixed broadband is as essential today as other utilities such as electricity and water. Everything is happening online, from education and finding employment to accessing city and county resources. I had to use the internet to be able to speak before you all tonight. The issue today is that 30% of rural Americans do not have access to fixed broadband, and 3 million children across the country have trouble completing their homework due to inadequate internet access, according to the FCC. North Carolina has one of the largest broadband access disparities. According to the FCC, 21 million Americans do not have access to high-speed internet, but a private Microsoft study found that that number could be as high as 163 million people. This makes it hard to really pinpoint accurate statistics for the nation and specific states. This large disparity in reports is reflective of part of what's causing the problem. The FCC allows internet service providers to self-report who they serve. And this is dangerous because the maps the FCC creates from these numbers helps them to allocate federal funding dedicated to expanding rural broadband that Congress has allocated. Federal funding is needed because many areas have de facto monopolies, such as Lee County, where many families only can use Spectrum. And when it comes to internet providers, these corporate giants have no incentive to provide quality service or expand into areas they do not want to due to the extraordinary cost of building the infrastructure for internet access. While this can all be disheartening and frustrating, there are a lot of great programs in North Carolina working to bridge this divide, such as the World Center and the North Carolina Broadband Infrastructure Office. The North Carolina Broadband Infrastructure Office is working at finding accurate statistics about which North Carolinians have access to high-speed internet. And the World Center has established the Great or Growing Rural Economies with Access to Technology program, which champions a private-public partnership through grants approved by the General Assembly. Another option many counties and cities throughout the nation are looking at is creating municipal broadband options, such as North Carolina's very own Wilson. The city helped create Greenlight Community Broadband, which according to Will Aycock, who's in charge of the network, open quote, has helped to spur a long list of economic development investments, including downtown revitalization and investment in the community's corporate park. New jobs continue to spring up, close quote. Greenlight provides excellent service to the residents of Wilson, but the General Assembly passed a law in 2011 that extremely restricts city and county abilities to establish municipal broadband, and if it's already established, like in Wilson, they can't expand and offer it to neighboring communities. Lee County is fortunate enough to have a decent amount of coverage, but many of our residents fall victim to the virtual monopolies and only have one provider in their area, so they are forced to deal with poor customer service and high prices. Internet is an essential utility for everyday life in America, so it is vital that every American has access to it. I want to thank you all for your time because advocacy as a young person is so important, and opportunities like 4-H and NCACC Youth Voice have been a great platform to bring issues like this one that will impact my future and impact my present to the forefront. If there's ever any way I can advocate for this project in our community, please do not hesitate to call on me. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mackenzie. We'll see you in August.
You should like our next presentation. It's coming up right now.
Yeah, we've got the annual meeting right around the corner, so look forward to seeing you there. And you know you're welcome anytime. Okay, new business, and what a great segue.
Perfect segue for
I
you.
know, exactly. Mr. Kyle Edwards for the Downtown Sanford Wi-Fi RFP and contract.
Yeah, she pumped us up for you.
That's right.
Right,
that's
I mean, you know, it's just
How much did you
perfect.
pay her?
Can't talk about
When
that.
when she said what her topic was gonna be, I was like, ah, that'll work pretty well.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As we talked about back in the April 1st meeting, we talked about the development and the release of an RFP for a downtown Wi-Fi project in the downtown Sanford area. We did receive 3 responses from vendors, 2 of these which included pricing and 1 of which did not. And you can see in your packet that the response we received from Open Broadband was really right in line from a financial perspective and a technology perspective with what we were looking for. So I'm asking the board to approve this recommendation with Open Broadband as the provider, so as well as signing the contract, so we can begin this project as quickly as we can. We're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 months to complete the project, and the total monthly cost would be around $1,150 per month, which would include a 1 gig backbone for the network, as well as some other analytic software. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Question. Now,
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to refresh my memory, and that's what we're confused. Like, we need to connect to our emergency services, right? Is that what we're paying for with this particular?
So with this particular deployment, it was more about economic development, more about offering this free Wi-Fi service in the downtown area. It would kind of get our feet wet with Open Broadband to determine what we could do in the future for more rural networks, for more county networks, that kind of thing.
I was confused. I thought they were going to set up the program
Mhm.
and let the business tie in.
So it lays the foundation for infrastructure so that if the business wanted their own connection, they'd be able to tie into that. It'd be a totally separate network from the downtown Wi-Fi, but the infrastructure at that point would be there so they could obtain their own connection if they chose to do that.
And what's the Open Broadband bandwidth that's going to be happening?
So we'll have 1 gig backbone if we go with this route, and each AP that's installed will be up to 1.3 gigs on the 5 gig spectrum.
You're saying you got free Wi-Fi going in,
Right.
and what's the upload? What's the upload on that?
It'll be 1 gig symmetrical.
Symmetrical, so anybody is logging in. So
Yep.
why would anybody need anything else? That's a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's top of line at this point.
So where does it stop from there in terms of what businesses get free and what businesses have to pay?
So this is not designed to reach inside the businesses. It's just for the walking area downtown, just for the public that are traversing through the area.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
the question I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah.
So once you get past that and go into a business,
Mhm.
they have the opportunity to obtain that.
That's right.
Making a
But they
case
have
for
their
it.
own.
Yeah, they
They would have to
contract.
contract directly with Open Broadband.
No, that's
Yeah.
where the confusion was.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other issue that you brought up is there is a separate project, separate from this, that where we're trying to connect this building to the courthouse
Yeah.
area, right?
Yep, so-
Through-
I was just wondering, we're gonna be giving our buildings up too for their infrastructure to help them set this up, right?
That's right.
So we're helping them set it up. Do we get anything back to help us offset the cost of what it costs us to? So in other words, other businesses may be able to start to plug in. You-
We're getting them, this is basically an inducement to get them to make a bigger investment. This is just, this is kind of like when we ran the line out to the industrial park where, we incentivized them to do it. We, paid a fraction of the cost for them to do it. And so we're doing the same thing here with Open Broadband, and hopefully eventually Open Broadband will go outside the city limits to some areas that aren't served with broadband at this time. So this is kind of our trial to see how well this works, and if it works, then we'll start branching out of downtown and hopefully out into the
Now,
wilderness.
but there's a monthly cost to this too. Is that an ongoing does the city help us with that overall cost?
Yes, we have discussed with the city, and they're willing to help us with that monthly cost.
They've committed to pay 50%.
Thank you.
You know how internet, excuse me,
Go ahead.
it goes in and out sometimes, you know, is there, what's the guarantees of time, you know, that it won't be out, or is there anything,
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have written service agreements with Open Broadband, SLAs, for any kind of outages that go on. The network will be continually monitored, so if there are any outage issues, they'll be taken care of quickly. The citizenry will have direct access to Open Broadband, so if they're downtown and they can't connect, they can call Open Broadband directly and say, what's going on, I can't get connected, and they'll have tech support right on the line. So there's, to answer your question, there's a lot more in the background that we are getting through the service, but yeah, they'll be on top of that, absolutely.
So for Mackenzie, this whole thing is to branch out to areas that don't have coverage, so they can hook on and on. You know, this is a base point, and then we can hit it to a cell tower, which takes it further and further out. So we're starting. So talk to Kyle, and he'll tell you all about it. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions or discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor of the downtown Sanford Wi-Fi contract being awarded to Open Broadband, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Hopefully we'll look back soon on this and see where it was a good start.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you for all your hard work, Kyle.
Absolutely.
Okay, B and C were moved to consent. So item D for the tax collector's annual settlement, Mr. Brown. Good evening.
Is this his first time?
It is. But I mean, he's been up here before.
No, I know. That's for this purpose. Yeah.
First time for settlement, yes, sir.
There you go.
Good evening, Chairman
Good evening.
Dalrymple and other
No pressure.
commissioners. Tonight, we bring before you the tax collector's annual settlement. We request at your approval the acceptance of the tax collector's settlement, the adoption of the resolution, and the charge for the tax collector with the 2019 taxes.
Okay.
First item in your packet is an affidavit showing the 2018 collected taxes and remaining uncollected. We're at 99.06% collected. The second page of the affidavit shows, the bottom line actually shows the 2018, so that shows the 99.06 for current year. And then we, as you move up the chart, it shows you where we actually are at with collections on prior year taxes. Next, we have the tax collector's report, basically stating the amount of taxes that is still remaining for real and personal property as outstanding. Following page we come into is a chart which actually shows we're at 99.06 collected for June 2019 fiscal year. We're a little bit less than we were last year, which was 99.13. I certainly would like to say a big thank you to staff to make all this happen. So listing staff, appraisal staff, and the collection staff, and certainly to Mary Gow, the former tax administrator, since she had a big hand in that. But we were a little bit less than what we were last year. We were 99.13 last year at this time, and this year we're at 99.06. The next item is the resolution which would approve the tax collector settlement. And then the last item is the order for the charge of collecting the 2019 taxes.
Any questions for Mr. Brown or comments?
Do you need these approved individually, or can they do a blanket?
If I'm not mistaken, I think last year maybe they were done separately, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
That's, yeah, we have to,
You want to call them out one by one?
Oh, boy. So we have to approve the report and then approve the resolution. Okay, is there a motion for the report? Is that correct, Mr. Brown? Is that?
We have 3 items.
Oh, 3, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, and then the settlement, the resolution, and then the order.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
So moved on the report.
Okay, all right, we have a motion to approve the report. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And then the annual settlement.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution on the annual settlement. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And then the tax collection order.
So moved.
Okay. Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much for your hard work. I know you wanted to get to the 99.13, but 99.06 is pretty daggum good.
We will certainly strive.
We
to shoot
appreciate
for that
it.
next year. Thank you
We
so much.
appreciate it so much, Mike.
Appreciate
Thank
y'all's
you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. I wrote my report back before July 4th, so some things have changed in my report. The first item is I have a meeting with Mosley Architects tomorrow to go over the draft construction drawings for the courthouse renovation projects. So I'm looking forward to that, so we can get that project moving. Kiwanis, yes, sir?
Will any of the courthouse people be involved?
No, sir. The Kiwanis Family Park project that the city is undertaking is moving along quickly, and they are still scheduled to finish by the end of August or sometime in August. Tax revaluation, the Board of Equalization Review completed the appeals process at their final meeting on June 24th. All the letters of determination have been sent out. And so the 30-day right to appeal to the North Carolina Property Tax Commission is running and will end before July 31st. So, so far, so good on that. Audit-related items, want to congratulate Lisa Minter and her staff for the 23rd consecutive year achieving the Lee County's was awarded the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's a mouthful. A lot of work goes into that report, and we thank Lisa for all that she's doing there with that. Other audit-related items, I wanted to make the board aware that we did have one item in the single audit process for DSS. There was a claim in the amount of $829.47, where I believe we paid someone who should not have been paid. And we had to refund that $829.47 to the state. It was the loan item found in the single audit process. And if you remember, DSS Director Angelina Noel had come before the board a couple times and expressed her concern about the new 100% accuracy that was being placed on DSS departments, and that we would have to pay for that. So actually I feel like we fared pretty well. Next year, the audit process will change slightly, and they are bringing in a private third-party firm to audit additional files. So I've always felt like this was a way for the state to generate revenue, and that's what they're trying to do. So I would imagine that next year we'll probably have more findings. The third item there is the local government retirement system audit. We are currently in an audit. I've been here 12 years. It's the first time we have ever been audited. And we have run into an issue where employees working more than 1,000 hours per year from a calendar year will have to be placed into retirement. And one of the things that's causing us to have more employees run over 1,000 hours is the economy. We have fewer and fewer people who are willing to work 20 hours or less a week without benefits. So it's becoming more and more difficult to keep our part-time staff in place, and it's creating issues with getting the job done within the hours that we have. So we're addressing that issue, and we're addressing it going forward. So I expect to get a letter from the treasurer and telling him that we need to follow the rules more. Legislative bills of interest. The legislature's kind of bogged down now, as everybody knows, because of the budget. But this past week, the House Bill 285 was passed, and that's also known as the City of Sanford's annexation bill, and I believe there was an issue in the newspaper about that. The city has contacted us about the homeless initiative. As you know, we did not fund the homeless initiative next year. However, they have not completed the spending for on the projects for the past fiscal year. And they have asked us to roll $2,229.45 of the unspent funds into next year to pay for some other items that they're still working on. Let me go to that memo real quick. Sorry.
Okay. It was,
179.
Renovation of the men's upstairs bathroom, the new water heater and valve for the men's shelter, lettering on a van, and installation of the Sanley security camera system. So our 45% share was $2,229.45 of the $4,900. And there is a remaining balance of $21,000 from what we had appropriated last year. So we'd still, be doing good about $19,000 from last year. So before I put that in a budget amendment in the August meeting, I wanted to make sure that the commissioner was okay, that we moved that money forward. Because typically we do that, but I remember the discussion about the homeless project and just wanted to get the board's feelings on that.
do we need a vote for that or just a direction?
Because it'll be in the budget amendment, right?
That's right,
Right,
you'd have to
that's-
vote on it, and
In August, correct. I mean,
so if everybody's okay with that, I'll just go ahead and present in the August meeting.
is that okay with you? Okay. Just, we had committed to that money for that project, so just roll it over. Okay, thank you.
Waste Industries, under their contracts with us for solid waste, were required to notify us of an ownership change or a name change. They have merged with a company called Green for Life Environmental, and they've already using the GLE stuff, and I was in Wilmington last week. Their stuff is everywhere down there. So personally, we're talking to the same people. Nothing's really changed. So, we don't really think that it has an impact on the contracts, and if it did, we'll be back before the board. But I was obligated to let you know that their name had changed. Under reports, I wanted to point out under the Community Development Activity Summary and the Technical Review Committee Agenda Memorandum for July, the project out at Triassic piece of the Central Carolina Enterprise Park, the mixed-use home, retail, commercial development is on their agenda for this month, and it is an impressive project. And then take notice of the number of projects that are being reviewed this month. Things are getting ready to boom in Lee County.
Yep.
And remind the board that our next meeting will be August 19th, 5 weeks from tonight. It's at 6 o'clock right here.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair, if there are any.
Any questions?
I have one regarding the 20-hour rule.
This one.
If you are not in compliance, you're using our regular people to make up the, I think I understood you to say that folks are not really interested in working 20 hours a week without benefit.
That's correct.
So that workload passes back on to
That's full time.
staff. Are you looking at a cure for that?
We've only really developed a couple of ways to address that. Number one is in the next year's budget, you may have to look at converting some of those part-time positions to full-time positions. And then the other thing is we're trying to, the departments that use a lot of part-time people are actively recruiting, trying to find more part-time people.
Right.
But it's tough out there,
Tough.
especially in a division like Colts next door, finding someone to work 15 to 20 hours a week, driving those vans and driving the schedules that they drive. Some of them arrive here at 5 o'clock in the morning to run people to Chapel Hill for dialysis, and it's and we're paying them $10.50 an hour. So it's tough. And we do not put a lot of county dollars into the Colt system, and that their department and Parks and Rec and Sheriff, his part-time people. It's hard to find sworn law enforcement folks that want to work 20 hours a week without benefits.
Yeah, I have a concern about the overload that will be passed on to your current staff, and we might as well address it as soon as possible, because it doesn't seem to be getting any better, and prolonging it only makes matters worse. If you're losing your part-time people, you don't want to start losing your career people as well. So it's not, that's an issue the board really needs to address.
Looking on the back row. Yeah.
He's agreeing with you.
No, that's a good point. I mean, with the unemployment as low as it is, it's really tough. Absolutely.
Oh, and Madam Chairman, I did
Sure.
want to say that the school board did post their audit to their website today. I was having printer issues. I apologize. And it was probably a user issue, not a printer issue. So I only have one copy of their audit, but I am making more for the board and get those out to you this week.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Reeves?
Yeah, I spoke with the manager earlier today after having read an article over the weekend. Several years ago, we had a situation where a family needed to relocate one of their family members due to illness or something. I don't remember the exact reason. But what came to mind is that that was a good move, and I support it. It was a temporary, I think Commissioner Connect remembers, I think they had like a RV or something that they needed to set up for a while.
This was on their land, whether it's something was being built or something?
Yeah, that might have been it.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm bringing it to the table is because we now are looking at situations where family members may want to bring, who cannot afford to send their elderly parents or to a facility. Is locating a piece of a rental property on their land. Now, what's interesting about it is, and I think the manager mentioned to me, is when it comes to the septic tanks. The reason I want our policy revisited is because not everybody is able to buy enough property. So in those cases, there ought to be some options considered for a family who has to meet that criteria. And we probably ought to start looking at that.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the rule right now is if you have a second dwelling
Right.
on the property. It
Right.
must have its separate septic
Right.
and its own address for
Right.
911 purposes, right? So.
And you had to have I couldn't remember the number of acres you had to have, but.
Right.
there
There's
was
an
a certain
acreage thing
size-
with that,
there was a
too?
certain size issue.
It's got to be under 2 acres, I'm sure.
Yeah, but see, that creates an imbalance.
It can be cost prohibitive for sure.
Yeah, that's something that we really need to start looking at. People are not doing it to get away with anything. They do it
No.
out of necessity, and we ought to be looking ahead and addressing that as one of the.
Well, you know,
County
something
issue.
maybe different when it comes to it's a family member compared to you're renting out,
Oh yeah, right.
right? So I'm sure there's different rules if that's going to be a renter's compared to, hey, my mom is staying there.
Yeah.
That's still, I think, still in the family.
No, I'm sorry. I misspoke when I said rent.
Yeah.
I'm not considering those. I'm considering family members who have mental or physical problems.
They got enough problems to begin with, anyways.
We had on the, and this has probably been a year ago, on the Joint Planning Commission, we had some discussion. You know, you see, it's all over the, like the home renovation channels and stuff with the tiny homes.
Yeah, the tiny home.
You know, and we started talking about that with the Joint Planning Commission was as we get into the ordinance phase of the land use plan.
Right.
That we, you know, need to consider that, just to your point, Commissioner Reeves, is, you know, that's, you know, some of those packages, you know, kits you can get for $25,000 and build a small home, and a lot of people are starting to consider that for parents and even for children, you know, especially if there's a, you know, situation health-wise where maybe they need to be close by but want some separation and independence, so, yeah.
That was the other consideration, is sometimes families, the children leave and have to come back home
Sure.
for various reasons. And what caught my attention was, I think the state was Pennsylvania, has now created a law and policy that they provide a grant
Oh, okay.
for that very purpose. And I'm not seeking the grant,
Right, but,
but I think we need to address that issue.
okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Crumpton, for providing us, or soon to be providing us, with the audit report for the Board of Education. I think that it's important that we all have the chance to look at that and use and review it next budget session around. I know that there's some things that they're addressing, and so I hope that gets handled and that we take that into consideration moving forward. I also wanted to bring you all up to speed. Today I had the privilege of being a part of an opioid response training through First Health. It was a 7-hour training, and it implemented all across the board. We had several of our Lee County Sheriff's deputies there. We had some gentlemen from the Drug Enforcement Unit and different resources that we have in Lee County for treatment. And the point of the training today was to try and connect the dots, because we have all these different resources, but sometimes there's a lapse when law enforcement's called, and then there's a window in between of that time when treatment really needs to be addressed. And so the training was through these multiple grants that Lee County has received, and so we're still in that implementing process of how we're allocating the funds. In the next month, we're going to be launching a website through First Health that will be for Lee County, Moore County, Hoke, Montgomery, and I believe one more county, but it'll be like a central hub where all of our resources are, numbers to call, just a central place for people suffering from addiction and for caregivers to just have a central place where they can go, because that's kind of one of the difficulties is we have all these different things but not a central place to find them. So we're working on that, and on our peer-to-peer support advocates. We have 2 from Lee County, and those peer-to-peer advocates are individuals who have suffered from addiction and have been in recovery for at least 2 years. and are looking to just try and help those who are currently suffering from addiction. So we have the funds to train more, and so we want to implement that over the next 5 years. But we're starting off with 2, so it's a good start. So I just kind of wanted to bring everyone up to speed, and I'll let you know when we get the website up and running.
Great, that's good. I was talking to one of the sheriff's deputies this past week on some of the opioid programming we've got in the county. You know, we started back about, what is it, a year and a half ago now with the, task force for the county. And we had a couple of meetings on that. Just to throw it out there to you, because you've been so proactive in this, is maybe we need to talk about bringing that group back together, because
I think we do.
We had, over 100 at the first meeting, fell off a little bit the second meeting. I think we had 70 some, looking out there at someone that was in my group. But I know some, when we broke out into the sort of subgroups, I think some groups have communicated better than others.
And some of them I know
kind of fell off.
And it was sort of because we were in this place of, well, where do we move forward? And
sure.
I think that maybe now that we have some additional resources, I know that we have Lauren Stein is her name. She's new to our health department, and she's heading that. And so she's been really proactive in her time here, and so I do think it's time for us to kind of collaborate again, and it was a good opportunity for people in the county to be involved and to kind of share their story and share resources, because again, we have them, they exist, we just need people to know about them.
Right, and that's kind of what to your point is, we sort of had work groups those first 2 meetings, and maybe now with the grant funding from First Health, which is fantastic, and we've got all these programs and all these things happening now, maybe just sort of a touch base and let everybody know.
I think
we
so.
assume they know, but
they don't.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right, thank you. We'll work on that. Commissioner Shaw.
I don't have anything other than I hope everyone has a great summer. Stay cool, that's the only advice.
First, just condolences to Mrs. Minter. And also keeping in prayers, we have a sheriff's deputy that got injured in the line of duty, and he's still in the hospital, so hoping for a speedy recovery. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Same on behalf of the board, Ms. Minter. Condolences on passing her mom. And also, yes, our deputy that's, do you have an update?
He's still unstable,
Okay.
Serious condition, but
Okay.
he's probably fortunate to be with us today.
Yes.
And so, but the outcome looks good, and workers' comp folks have already been there to make sure that he's taken care of. So,
Okay.
great response from our insurance company today.
Good. Good to hear. Couple of one housekeeping thing or whatever. In your agenda, just to call your attention to it, on page 70 through 72 with the Colts contract, I know sometimes, there's contracts that sort of, but just make sure you look at those pages 70 to 72. It's got some great updated demographics information for the county. As far as just our household incomes, our poverty numbers for the county. It's the poverty numbers I want to see go down, and the household income numbers I'd love to see go up, and that's kind of what we work towards with our economic development projects. But just keep that in mind that poverty is a real thing in our county. Our household income, we definitely need to work to see if we can bring that up for our citizens. So just page 70 to 72 is good to just kind of pull out and keep to the side and keep handy from time to time. Also, just to let the board know, since I'm way down in Broadway, there are some happy folks in Broadway right now because the playground equipment started going up at Let Family Park. And, you know, I got a whole lot of comments when it started happening. You know, first it was like, what's going on, what's going on? And, you know, then when they started seeing what was happening, lots of little ones just itching to get on that playground equipment. So that's a good thing. Broadway has needed something like that for a long, long time. We have the school playground equipment, but you know, it's, for a lot of reasons, obviously, you know, people are a little reluctant to go on the school property and use that equipment. So they have some at the park, so that's a good thing. And I'll just end on this note. This is not a political statement. This is just a heartfelt statement. With everything that we've got going on, I know the last 2 days, social media on both sides, all sides, every side, you know, is getting hateful. And just for what it's worth, I just, you know, everybody, you know, we're all Americans. We're all human beings. You know, we need to be kind. And, you know, I get it. Sometimes some of us are a little hard to love. I understand that. But, you know, let's be kind to each other. And remember, you know, what we say, what we type, what we hit send in regard to, there's a lot of young people watching. And what I've seen, you know, in the last 36 hours or so, it's hard for me to explain to my kids. And like I said, it's on all sides. But we're better than we've been in the last 36 hours. And I just challenge everybody to be their better self. So with that, I think there's a couple motions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Per North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3, the board will consult with the attorney regarding matters of Lee County, North Carolina versus Amerisource Bergen Drug Corporation in reference to national prescription opioid litigation. Also, per General Statute 143-318-11A4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of business.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're now in closed session. Thank you very much.